Valerie Loureda making her MMA debut, Bellator 216, Saturday, February 16th from the Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut. You can catch all the matches, all the action. Watch Valerie do her thing in there. You can catch that on DAZN International streaming service. It's going to be a great event. Valerie, simple questions. Where were you born?
I was born in Miami, Florida.
Did you grow up in Miami? And what area of Miami did you grow up in?
I grew up in Miami. I grew up by the Westchester area. That's where I grew up, and very close to Christopher Columbus High School in St. Brendan. My mom is actually a teacher for 25 years at Banyan Elementary, right in front of Christopher Columbus High School. So my house is right there. That's where I was born and raised.
Valerie, were you athletic growing up?
Yes, I've always been athletic for fighting, not really athletic for normal sports.
Well, fighting's a normal sport. I'll consider it a normal sport.
I guess.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Our Lady of Lourdes Academy, all-girl private Catholic high school, and I graduated in 2016.
Were you involved in any activities, clubs, events? How did you do academically at Lourdes?
Yes, sir. So I was part of the Business Honor Society, and I was the first class that was developed with my teacher that worked for Deco Drive, our broadcast journalism program, and that was my dream career, and that sparked my college career later on. But that was one of the main activities I was involved with, along with training very intensely for my Taekwondo career.
You mentioned Deco Drive. Are we talking about Channel 7, WSDN Deco Drive?
Yes, sir.
Chris Van Vliet is a big pro wrestling fan.
Oh,
also,
yeah.
He's into the MMA a little bit too. He comes out here every once in a while. And I know he's been on Deco Drive. And the producer, Jeff Laval, and director went to Barry University, which is where I went to college. So I know a lot about Deco
you know
Drive.
Eddie Perez.
Oh yes, yes I do.
She was my teacher.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's great. That was been a great program.
Yes.
And that show has been on for a long time on Channel 7.
It taught me a lot.
That's really awesome. So good teaching there too with that. When did you get into modeling?
So I've always been into modeling. I was a dancer, and that involved a lot of makeup and art and performing, and basically it just sparked just something else that I love to do, which was model. And not just that, I would model as a martial artist for the Olympic Committee and different martial art platforms. And it wasn't really because I was a model, but more because I was a martial artist, but I was also very feminine, and it was a very good way of portraying and marketing that aspect of martial arts.
Was modeling something too you wanted to go into as you got older, or was that just something for the time as far as with Taekwondo and other things like that?
I just believed that if I would work hard and really put so much hard work into it, that later on all the modeling would come to me. And that wasn't really my main focus. My main focus has always been to be successful in academically and in my athletic career.
College, where did you go to college, and did you earn your degree?
So I go to Florida International University. I started...
Go Panthers!
I started summer of 2016, and I love it. And I was actually in a sorority there. People don't know that, but I was in Alpha Xi Delta for a year. I've done it all, but it just got to a point that during my college career, that's when I also got into MMA. And I told myself, Valerie, if you want to be the best in the world as fast as you can and get a contract like I did with Bellator, I can't go to campus anymore. So I changed all my classes online, and that's what I did. So I'm in my 3rd year at Florida International University pursuing broadcast journalism, and I finished my minor in Spanish.
That's interesting you mentioned broadcast journalism, because you had the program and your teacher, Ellie, was for Deco Drive, so it was something that you really grew into. As a high school student, that's when you really started becoming interested in broadcast journalism? I had
much more experience going into college than any other student because of that broadcast journalism program. I was very hands-on in high school. I even interviewed Gloria Stefan. I've interviewed Gloria Stefan. She came back to Lourdes, and I was the one chosen to be the one to interview her. And if you see the yearbook, my interview is there with her for her Broadway musical On Your Feet.
That's great. That's really cool too, the experience that you get for that and all. Tell us about your dad.
Yes.
His name and So influential in the Taekwondo community.
Yes,
Tell me about his academy, how it started.
So my dad is known as Grandmaster Frank Loureda. His name is Francisco Loureda. He's had this school in Kendall of Miami since 1985, Master Frank's Taekwondo Academy. And if you notice in all my fights, my amateur fights and now my professional fight, I always fight with his logo. And you'll see it on my sports bra, on my banner. You'll see my American Top Team logo because this is where I train out of, but you'll also see the Master Frank's Taekwondo Academy logo. And my dad is an 8-dan Grand Master in Taekwondo. He's devoted his whole life to martial arts and changing the lives of children and developing athletes and fighters. And for that, I owe him my life because he did make me the martial artist I am today.
Originally, where is he from?
My dad's parents are Cuban, but he was born in Venezuela. So my dad was born in Venezuela.
And then your dad and your mom moved here together, or no?
And then my dad and his sister moved to Miami, and later on he met my mother.
Now tell us about your mother, her name, and also a little bit about her. You mentioned she's a teacher.
Yes,
Mention a little bit else.
So my mom's name is Milagros Loureda, Millie Loureda, she's known, and my mother, she is Cuban. She was born and raised Cuban, and she came here at a very young age. She went to Miami High. She's very proud of that.
Go Stingarees!
Yes, she was the girls that dance with the sticks.
Yeah, I know. It was in the band. She had the flags. The
flags. So my mom was a captain, and she loves that. And she was also a performer. And she met my father, and together she's been my dad's right hand. And together they've grown Master Frank's Taekwondo Academy into what it is today.
Did she also earn a belt in Taekwondo?
Yes, my mom actually has her black belt. My dad promoted my mom's black belt while she was pregnant with me. So I was doing a black belt test before I was born. My mom's also a special education teacher for 25 years for the Miami-Dade public schools. And she's been working at Banyan Elementary for all these years.
You are the oldest of 3 children.
Yes, sir.
You have 2 sisters.
Yes.
What are your sisters' names, and what are they involved in?
So my sister's name is Valerie Loureda. She is 2.5 years younger than I am. She's 18 years old. She also goes to Our Lady of Lourdes Academy. And my sister's also a master 4th-degree black belt in Taekwondo, which is still pursuing the Olympic dream for later years to come. So she's still actively training at my father's school. And I have my younger sister, Francesca Loureda, which she's 11. She's in middle school. She goes to St. Thomas the Apostle in Miami. She goes to St. Thomas the Apostle, and she's also a black belt. She still also trains, and they will both be in my fight. I'm so excited because I do this for them.
The whole family will be there at your fight.
The whole family will be in my fight.
Do the 2 have any interest in trying for the Olympics or MMA or anything like that?
My sister Natalie's on road for the Olympics. I don't know if for Tokyo, but maybe for 2024 she will be able to get there. And the little one, she is a black belt, but we don't know yet. She's still very young. And no, they don't have any interest in MMA. I'm the only aggressive one, I guess, of the sisters as a fighter. But
for now,
they're amazing martial artists as well, and you all get to meet them as time goes by. And I'm going to incorporate them into my life as well.
What a great family. It's not just for the sport, but just overall, and everyone could be involved like that too.
Yes,
Let's talk a little bit about your mom, because your
Yes.
mom had to battle cancer, leukemia,
Yes, sir.
and all, and you really had to become like a second mother
Yes, sir.
while your mother was battling this. How old were you when this was going on,
So,
and just what was that whole experience like
I was
for you?
about 16 years old. I was in Our Lady of Lourdes Academy. I believe I was a sophomore. And my mom and my dad, they were never really sick at all. My mom was never sick, so we never thought anything. And we just started seeing she was very tired all the time, and she would get home and she would just want to sleep. And if she would walk here to the corner, she would be out of breath, and we're like, Mom, what's wrong with you? She just didn't want to go to the doctor. We just thought that she just wasn't taking care of herself or eating unhealthy, etc. Until one day she goes, Valerie, take me to the hospital. I didn't even know how to drive, but I had to learn how to drive on the moment. And I took her, and actually her heart rate was out of this world. She was extremely anemic, like under a 2-point-something, and the doctors freaked out and they started running. And my mom was very sick. She had acute myeloid leukemia, 90% developed already into her bone marrow, and no one knew. And just my mom, we started this huge journey, which was the biggest thing, the biggest fight my family has ever had to go through. Imagine so many fights, all of our lives, nationals, competitions, and then all of a sudden my mom has acute myeloid leukemia. So it was really the biggest challenge we had to go through together, but she did go into her chemotherapy her first round, and she was successful that round, but unfortunately 2 months later she relapsed and she had to go into her second round. And in the second round, just the platelets weren't sticking, and her blood count was not going up, it wasn't getting better, and her transfusions weren't working anymore, and they just told her, Mindy, you need a bone marrow transplant. So I believe it was in 2017. We found a donor, very blessed, and he was a 9 out of 10 match for my mom, and she undergo the bone marrow transplant. She's a survivor of that now.
How difficult was that for you at that time? Or was there no time to think emotionally about any of this because you were helping out so much? How did you deal with that?
So I was actually training for the Olympics when my mom got sick with leukemia, and I was training for the Olympic qualifier and this whole dream. And when my mom got sick, really everything paused in all of our lives, and it was all about my mom for the first time in all of our lives. You know, it was always about Taekwondo for our family, and for the first time it was just about my mom, and we all really saw a shift and change in our lives for that. And my sisters were a lot younger than I was, so I had to step up and be kind of the glue for the family, being so young, and be there for my sisters and drive them to school every day, pick them up from school every day, take them to their little activities so they don't miss. My mom even had to watch my little sister's communion from the hospital bed. And those are things people don't know, but those are things my family went through that are very different experiences that I believe have made us all strong. And I believe that one day we're all gonna just come together, and my mom will be repaid for everything she went through, because she is such a beautiful person, and everyone who meets her knows it.
God puts things on our plate that he thinks we can handle.
Yes, sir.
How has this experience helped you and helped your family?
You know, I think it's always been about Taekwondo for our family, and imagine having a school for 34 years is a very long time. So when something like this that you never think would happen, especially to my mom, knowing her, you're kind of in shock. You know, you see my dad just go down, because my dad is nothing without my mom. My mom's nothing without my dad. They go together, and just seeing how she would have the transfusions here by her heart, and he would have to sleep on the floor, so she falls over, she doesn't get a MRSA or something from the infections. And it's very hard to see, for example, my little sister with 6, 7 years old having to touch my mom's bald head. You know, those are things that a lot of people don't go through, and they don't even see that my family is so strong, and we're so hardworking and so persistent and so driven that we were able to get through this positively, and really just allow this all to shape us and make us the family that we are.